Detroit is the greatest!
Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Darren McCarty comes back to Neiman in front of him. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone. Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
What is up, Internet? It's another episode of the Motor City Sports Rant. I am Jason Jarvi, Jarvi the King. There is no Vinny Stubbs tonight. Again, it seems like we're on the path where we can't get on the same cycle, and we're just gonna go back and forth. But with me, as always, we got John, the Doc, the phone, Macaroon.
Jason, what's going on, man? I'm so looking forward to this podcast. There's so much to talk about. Devastation around town regarding the Lions, and we got to hit on it, man.
There's devastation, and I really think there's some good talk later in the show, because I'm really excited about Red Wings and Pistons starting up, and we don't have to talk about the Tigers anymore, at least until free agency comes in. But let's focus on the big story, the Detroit Lions. We put off the rant a day because we had to be able to react to Monday Night Football. And I think going into the game, nobody was really giving them any shot. And, I, as much as I am a Lions fan, I'm always going to root for them. And I was going to hope for them to win. I didn't realistically see them having a very good shot. And they stood in there. The defense did pretty well, aside from Russell Wilson basically showing off his athletic ability and escaping numerous amounts of tackles. We got to him a bunch. He fumbled it 3 times, lost it twice, and that third time we returned it for a touchdown to bring it within 3 points. And then obviously the play happened, and it's another instance where the Detroit Lions get screwed by another rule.
Before that happened, were you mad at all at Calvin Johnson for fumbling? A lot of people around town are saying, you know what? Calvin has built enough cachet. He's made enough big plays in town as a Detroit Lion that he could potentially earn a pass for fumbling the ball. What do you think?
I don't give him a pass, but I don't blame him either. He's going for the win. We're an 0-3 team. We're looking to win the game. So I don't give him a pass. It's obviously his fault. And I think it's good that he doesn't come out. He's not coming out and he's blaming the refs, and he's not making excuses. He says he pretty much came out and said, hey, we can't let the refs decide the game.
Now, see, I take a different stance. You have to protect the ball in that situation. You have to know down and distance. You have to know the situation. There is strategy for regular NFL teams, and there's strategy for the Lions. You can't play for the win as the Lions. I believe that in that situation, maybe on 3rd and 1, you run the ball and potentially you set up another set of downs so that you can get into the end zone. But in that situation, I think the Lions did themselves a disservice by Calvin Johnson did himself a disservice by reaching out there and potentially getting the ball fumbled. I thought that Calvin, with his experience in the league, would know that. I know it's instinct. I know that that's what you try to do, is to extend out. But at that point in the game, you're down by 3. You're in field goal range. I would have played for overtime. I've been a little bit more conservative if you're the Lions, because you were playing well. You might have won the toss. You've just gotten down. You just drove the ball roughly 80 to 90 yards. You got to be mindful of where you're at on the field. And so for Calvin to fumble the ball, absolute disgrace. And then, we're definitely going to talk about it. But as we talk, I'm getting more frustrated.
It's Calvin Johnson. I mean, I think I saw the stat. It's like his first fumble in the red zone in like 61 attempts. So you could throw out that 61 out of 62 times he's not going to fumble that ball, and he's going to get the touchdown in that instance. It's something that happens, and I hate to sound like a coach or a player and give you the vanilla answer. It's a play that happens.
And because the Lions can't run the ball, 3rd and 1, I know the play was effective, but 3rd and 1, You could have ran the ball. You could have used Zach Zenner.
I totally thought that ball was going to the Zenergizer Bunny.
Why not? Yeah, he was making plays. Again, the game was really tough to watch, but I loved the fact that on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, we got into a lot of banter about the offense and how stagnant it was. But the defense played well. But again, the offense was atrocious. Less than 60 yards running in total. And again, I had my expectation because Todd Gurley made his debut. So I saw his stats, and I said, okay, 19 carries, 149 yards, roughly in that area. I said, okay, I had a feeling it was going to be 19 carries, 19 yards for Abdullah. And it came to fruition. And the worst part is, it's kind of like one of those things where you complain about your team, but then when you see the national media again, a new set of hosts ripping the Lions, it just hurt me to hear John Gruden say, these 1-yard runs are killing me. It hurt. And he was absolutely on point. Why on earth are they continuing to run the football? It's a lost cause. And on our Twitter page, I have now contacts of former offensive linemen who have messaged me and kind of talked about what the hell's going on with this offensive line. And the game in and of itself was so challenging to watch. And then the tough part we got to talk about, we didn't walk away unscathed. A ton of injuries, a ton. And I'm really nervous now going forward. It's, you can't assume we're going to beat Chicago. If you see what happened with these injuries, I'm nervous, Jason, nervous.
Right. And talking about the run game, I understand, why you have to try and keep doing it, but we have all these weapons that are pass catching threats. I think we've seen, look at Denver. They can effectively, you throw that bubble wide receiver screen, and that's your run game right there. You throw it out, you put trips out to one side, have your two receivers go block, and have the other guy just run, and that's your run game. Do that, and that's Joe Lombardi. He's the big issue, and Joe Lombardi, Jim Caldwell. There's a disconnect there. Something's not working, and we haven't. I mean, we briefly mentioned the play, and it's the call, the illegal bat. What did you think when you first saw that play? When you saw him bat the ball out of the end zone, what did you think? Okay,
first of all, I was in total shock that play happened because I follow along on Twitter. Here's how I watch the game, because the games are really tough to watch. I knew it was going to be potentially a defensive struggle. You got the wife on the couch going, "This sucks. Again, John, this sucks. This is 2 weeks in a row. Why are they putting him on Monday?" The missus is no longer. She was actually a little bit more patient because she had some fantasy players. So I was thankful the last couple weeks in that we played each other. This week I got the victory, Jason. I got the victory.
Good job.
Yes, back to 2-2. But the first thing that I noticed was people were tweeting, okay, how are scared Lion fans? How are we going to lose? Stafford interception, fumble. What's going to happen? Is a player going to actually run the wrong way? Something weird was going to happen. We all had a feeling. So I had a feeling something was going to go down. Prater might miss the field goal. Something unusual was going to go down. So the first thing is, boom, he caught the ball on 3rd and 1. Perfect. He's running I'm like getting close to being excited. Then, boom, Cam Chancellor knocks the ball out. And the first thing I did was jump up and just started tweeting, no, getting mad, knowing that I thought it was a great play. I'm like, what a beautiful play by the Seattle defense, just punching the ball out and knocking the ball out. So I was like frustrated, mad. And at the time they started to talk about it, I was still in shock, still in that anger mode, like, damn, we blew another chance. Damn, we blew another chance. And then I didn't know about it until, give credit.
Yeah,
right?
but
I didn't know about it until Twitter.
But looking at just watching that play, and my first thought was maybe Calvin, he broke the plane and it's still a touchdown. After that happened, I mean, when I saw the guy hit the ball out of the back of the end zone, I'm like, that's a good play. I mean, that's the right thing you do. It's a touchback, and it's over for us. And if the Lions wouldn't have used that one timeout where there was some confusion that, they started the clock without our knowledge, if they hadn't have burned that timeout, obviously they converted on that 1 3rd down, but we could have had a chance to stop the clock, get the ball back, and maybe do something with that. Watching that play out of the end zone, and it didn't happen because I was watching over my brothers. It happened. And me and my brother, we always watch. We've watched the Lions for years, and this happens. We always see these kind of like you were saying, is that how's it gonna end? How are the Lions gonna blow it? So
Oh, I couldn't believe it.
I
Can you
get-
believe it? Can you believe it, Jason? People are now, and I couldn't believe how eloquent Mike Tirico was. He's like talking about how the Lions fans have less hope in terms of, how much water, the whole saying with, the glass half empty, that the Lions have found millions of ways to lose, and this just adds to it. The way he presented it was so beautiful and so eloquent. It just encapsulated how I felt, like another way to lose. But now the aftermath, you look at it, how is it possible you go into an NFL football game as a professional? We're just podcasting here, but in general, we kind of know the basics of the equipment we're using. We know how to put the podcast up. I feel like, I spent a year learning about podcasting. How is an NFL, how does a 52-man roster, 52 men, not one person got in the ref's face from the Lions, not one. One person say, hey, that's an illegal, that's not one overly studious person that knows all the rules, that's a dork that just pays attention to everything, not one. Okay, I got it. The referees might have blown it. The guys in the booth didn't know. But not one player on the field made a big stink about it. That's very concerning. That means that, I know that it was ruled 12.4.1, but somebody needed to know and make a big stink. This is your livelihood. Money aside, it's your livelihood. Somebody needed to be that overachiever and needed to know. Not one person. And, at the end of the game, you got the guys chucking it up and, Caldwell didn't speak up about it. I felt an inner anger.
What good would it do?
Yeah, I felt an inner anger that nobody knew what was going on.
Well, what good would it do? I mean, if somebody gets angry, they're not going to give us the win.
No, but there is a small chance. You see the big blunder that they made. There may have been a chance they blunder it and not know that you can't replay that. They may have dropped the flag first and then proceeded to give us the ball back at the half-yard line.
You couldn't get a replay because it was under 2 minutes.
Yeah, but not a review. But if someone goes, hey, points the finger and says, hey, he batted the ball, all someone has to say was 3 words. He batted the ball. All he'd say was 4 words. He batted the ball. He batted the ball. And then right there, that sparks.
And then when the ref says it's a judgment call,
that's a cop out because. If you look at that, the ref was positioned perfectly. He's looking right at it. So for him to say that it wasn't intentional, the Seattle defender knocked the ball out. There is no judgment. It was intentional. It was overt. He intentionally grabbed it, moved his hand to intentionally knock the ball out. There's no question about it. So for him to come out and say that, and for anyone to defend him saying that, total cop out. He intentionally walked up to the ball and pushed it out. That's what it's called. Now, when you say the judgment, it's one of those things where the ball's bouncing around, might hit off your leg, might hit off your body intentionally and go out. That's the judgment. Not when the guy runs up to the ball, smacks it, and knocks it out. So it's one of those things where I just think if one person would have said something, the flag would have hit the ground. I guarantee it. They wouldn't have had to replay it. If one person said, he batted the ball, he batted the ball. If one person was, a guy that's overly analytical and knows the rules, we win that game. But nobody did it, and that's very disappointing to a guy like me. It's very disappointing. One person. All I needed was one. And nobody, not from the head coach, not to anybody in the booth, not to anybody in the Lions organization knew what was going on.
I mean, you don't think they're planning ahead because they just fumbled the ball. And we've seen the replay over and over again. What I'd like to see again is what Lions players are actually seeing what happened. Mm-hmm. Obviously it was behind the line. So how good of a view did they actually get? And it's a boom boom play. They reviewed that the fumble, which obviously that was a turnover. But it's an issue with the whole rules thing is that you can't challenge that. You can't challenge a penalty, which I think is wrong. I think there needs to be some penalties that you can challenge. Holding would be something dumb because holding probably happens on every single play in the NFL. But a play like this where it clearly changes a game. And I mean, the stats went from if the Lions got the ball, they had like an 81% chance that they were going to win that game. And when it was a touchback, our win total goes down to 10%. So it's tough. And
it goes to the fact that, there's just way too many rules. How is if someone was studious, how many more rules are there that we don't know about? And pretty soon we're going to find out, because every single rule that is not really talked about happens to the Lions, and it affects us negatively. I mean, from the process to a pass interference called and then the flag picked up to now Batgate.
So if you're saying, though, there's too many rules, if there were less rules, how would they know that, though?
No, what I'm saying is, how is it that they come up with the fact that, and this is what I tweeted about last night on Detroit Podcast, who makes a discussion that, okay, if the ball's batted, that's not reviewable? That's an extra piece of discussion that doesn't need to happen. Plays that are reviewable. How does it come about that, the batted ball is not a reviewable play? That's stupid. That is a ridiculous notion, and one that needs to be taken out. They're making it too complicated. They've taken this replay system and really turned it into like a bureaucracy where there's so many rules, and now we look at if the batted ball is subjective or not. Give me a break. You just got to look at it, review it, let it be reviewable. That's all it needed to be done. All you got to do is say you get 2 challenges, period. And the rest, hey, if you use it at the wrong time, that adds the human element to it. And if we make a mistake, hey, that's something to talk about. Refs are gonna mess up. Refs are human, and they mess up. That's why they added the replay system. But they don't add the replay system to get the call wrong and to have everybody be upset, and then to talk about it after the fact that you got it wrong. The whole point of replay is, if it's going to be used, get the call right if you look at it. Period.
So is there anything that the NFL or the Refs Association can do that will actually make up for this? Because I don't think there is. There's no makeup. The only real thing that they could do that would make me happy is you say, okay, we're going to go back. We're going to put 1:04 on the clock, and you guys can finish out the rest of the game and play it out that way. That would be the only way I'd be happy, because they essentially stole the game from us.
They stole the game from us. And a game that we fought so hard. We could have stole a game. So right now the Lions are sitting 0-4. And we're the only team in the NFL without a win. It's depressing. You really robbed the Lions of a chance to have a good season, because you win in Seattle, you get that momentum, you come back on the plane all happy. Maybe that rides you to a couple wins versus Arizona and Chicago. Now everyone's deflated, nobody's happy. And then something happened today that really upset me. Jim Caldwell is a true professional. From the outside looking in, I know what professional looks like, and his name is Jim Caldwell. But this is football. This is emotion. This is something that, needed to be addressed by somebody in the organization. You have a chance as a leader of an organization to say something in your press conference. Yes, you talked to Dean Blandino, and yes, it was probably talked about regarding, yes, sorry, we made a mistake, da-da-da-da-da. But this needs to stop. The way the NFL and the officials treat the Lions needs to stop. And what needs to happen is someone in the organization needs to have a meltdown and say, listen, this BS nonsense that's happening to us, from a pass interference the flag was thrown, the correct call was made, to it being like, no, it's done, to this happening. The fact is, the NFL is not showing one of its teams, one of the 32 teams, the proper respect. And the Lions are suffering because of it. So somebody needs to go up there and stand up for the organization and say, hey, listen, knock this off. Please stop. Stop this nonsense. Please get the call right. And if it takes a fine, I'm telling you, if it was me and I'm the head coach, I walk up there today in the press conference, I got my checkbook, and I'm getting a fine, the largest fine in NFL history. The NFL officials are a bunch of bullshit artists that don't know what they're doing. I don't know if someone gambled on it. I don't know if something was going on. I don't know, but that call cost my team the victory, and that's wrong. And no, but Jim Caldwell, calm and cool, is like, you know what? We're not going to talk about it. I told my team we're done with it. Let's move on.
And that's how you really should be.
That's not how it should be. Not at all.
It won't do you any good.
No, what it'll do is it'll say, hey, listen, this is something that's now in the forefront. It's something that, it's like a bully getting, repeatedly picked on, and the guy doesn't say nothing. On some level, the guy that's getting bullied needs to stand up and say, hey, listen, knock this shit off. Stop it. Why is it that all these crazy plays that are happen to the Lions? The process of the catch was created because of Calvin. There are plays that happen to the Lions that you don't see across the NFL.
You know what the Lions need to do?
They just speak up and say something.
No, they just need to go out and win.
That's never going to happen.
Well, that's the only way any of this will ever change.
The Lions need all the help they can get, and they can't have the refs screw us anymore. I mean, we deserve a good 3 years without getting screwed.
I agree with Caldwell. I don't want them to whine about this. Because,
not whine, but just speak up about it.
Well, what you're kind of doing is it sounds a little whiny.
Oh no, come on! I'm not whining. I'm a guy that cares, and I'm tired of seeing the team that I
You're
root
talking
for.
about going in there and say, this is bullshit.
Yeah,
Stop screwing us.
Stop screwing us. Why? Or ask, why is it that nobody knew the correct call? Why is it that the officials? I would just say, okay, one or two sentences. Why is it that the NFL officials don't know that punting or taking your hand and moving the ball out of the end zone is batting the ball out? Why didn't they know that? Why did they know that batting the ball is illegal?
The Lions just need to stop making excuses. They need to win. And I think that brings up another thing.
You can't win when you fumble the ball and you're supposed to get it back and you get to walk the ball in the end zone and they take it away from you.
Don't let the refs decide the game. Decide it yourself.
That's the point.
I think this whole the winning thing that the Lions have such an issue with. It brings up something that every fan has probably said in their life, and that's SOL. Same old Lion. And that's not something that I like to say. But I am getting towards this.
No, it is the same old Lions.
I had this formula. I was thinking about it, and it's that I don't like to say same old Lions, but I think the Lions' identity is that they find ways to lose. Yeah. It really is. Yeah. You look at the Green Bay Packers, and their identity is that they draft very well, and they are always at the top of the conference. You look at the Patriots; they find ways to win, whether it's legal or illegal. The Lions, they find ways to lose. It's scary. But I went through a list of. I was looking at games that the Lions they just blew.
Yeah,
and I think it goes all the way. It probably goes back further, but probably in my lifetime, it starts 1991, the conference championship. They lose 41-10 to the Redskins, and then a couple years later, you get the Sterling Sharp game, where they lose 28-24 in the wild card. And after that, you get numerous wild card losses. 2000, last game of the season. I was there. I'm not sure if you were there. That's the Paul Ettinger game, where they lose on the last field goal. I remember standing there with my brother. We're in the end zone where Paul Ettinger kicked it, and we're just standing there.
I was at the club level seats going, oh my God, please don't let it go. Please let it go. And it felt like it was slow motion because it was like 50, it was a big 50 plus yard field goal.
I don't think it was, it's possible, but it was just, it's
slow motion. It was deflating.
Between 2001 and 2010, it's the Millen era. We only had more than 7 wins once. Marty Morningway taking the win. The first Calvin Johnson rule. The completing the process. The number of times where we'd be down in the fourth quarter and we'd be driving and that somebody's going to turn the ball over. Oh. And the list goes on and on. It's sad. I'm only halfway through this list. I had the Thanksgiving Day game where Schwartz mixed up the challenge. I was at Green Bay in 2010 where we scored going into the half and it was only 14-21. And when we came back out in the third quarter, we got the ball and we started out with a pick 6 to Charles Woodson. 2011, Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers isn't even in the game. Matt Flynn. It's the second coming of Brett Favre. Throws 480 yards and 6 touchdowns. 2013, all you got to do is win one game at the end of the season and you're in the playoffs, and they can't do that. 2014, the non-pass interference call versus the Cowboys. And I think literally every single game this season, we've found a way to lose. Chargers, you're up 21-3, middle of the second, and then you get outscored 30-7. Vikings, it seemed like they were trying to give you the game, and you still couldn't do it. Broncos, you're down 14-12. A fumble in the second half leads to a field goal. An interception leads to a touchdown. You lose, and now the Seahawks game.
Jason, I thought that you would be one of the bastions of hope like myself, the Pope of Hope, but you've just brought me way down, dude. You've basically summarized some of the worst losses, and I'm getting re-traumatized. I'm starting to remember my reactions to some of those games, how upset I was. And for me, actually, I like being angrier better than being sad. When he fumbled the ball, when Calvin fumbled the ball and it went in, I really was feeling sad. I'm like, this can't be happening. We knew it was going to be something crazy was going to go down. I was feeling sad. And then once I realized that we got screwed, I felt angry, and I felt much better. I felt much better about myself because that's a feeling I'm used to. I'm used to feeling angry with my Lions, but you can believe this history. Rebuilding since 1957. We can't get out of our own way. It's only October 6th. We're the last team to get a victory, and there's no hope in sight, man. It's tough.
It doesn't faze me anymore. I mean, all these losses, I find it hard to get really angry about it.
All right, let's see. We got our phone lines open, and the best part of this podcast is we can be interactive. So let's see what the callers have to say regarding our Detroit Lions. Hello, what's going on?
How's it going, guys?
It's going well, man. How's it going? Who is this?
This is Ultimate Lions.
Ultimate Lions.
What's
Thank you
up,
for calling.
sir?
Not much, just hanging out at work. Got a little break to call in and talk some Lions quick. So,
Well, what's your take,
heard
man?
what you guys were saying on the Seattle game. Jesus, what else? What are we gonna do? It's done. It's over. We might as well just start preparing for next season.
I mean, do you want to see anything from Jim Caldwell or Martin Mayhew or any of the players? Do you want to see them come out and be angry about this, or do you want them to just move on, go to the next game?
A little bit of both. I want to just see them move on, push these first 4 games out of the way. They've been playing horrible. I mean, I want to see Megatron come out mad. I haven't seen anything from him this year. It's like I'm more excited to see Golden Tate now, and I never thought I'd be saying that. At the beginning of the season, I never thought I'd be saying that. And from Caldwell's point, what else can you do? You go out and you have Lombardi calling plays that aren't working, a screen every other play that's not working. He'll follow with a run that's not working. It's no offensive pattern at all, so it's just hard to watch. It's horrible. I can't stand Lombardi. I thought all these great things last year about him. He coached Drew Brees, going to coach up Stafford, going to do a great job in Detroit, and he's just been horrible, absolutely horrible. So, I mean, I would, if it came to the point where Caldwell is going to lose his job, I would want them just to stay within the organization, keep Terrell Austin, and put him in a spot. Let us have a little fresh blood defensive mindset guy. He outscored the offense last game, so why not? I mean, it's unbelievable hearing that the defense outscored the offense, and it's an embarrassment. I mean,
yeah, you just turned 20. You just turned 21. Did you have a few cocktails watching that mess? And how is it that at your young age you're still sticking with this team, man? It's super tough. I give you credit. Out there in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's definitely hard because I got all the Vikings fans there sitting all happy and a lot better than us in every aspect of the game right now. So it's pretty rough, but I mean, I still go in with the same mindset. I enjoy watching them, but gets pretty sickening watching them lose the game, pretty much hand themselves a lot. It's not fun to watch. I mean,
yeah, it's typical Lions. That's what you see. Are you near Minneapolis?
Just an hour west of Minneapolis, about. So.
Have you tried one of their Juicy Lucy's?
Homie, don't play that.
No, I have not.
I would highly recommend it. I've heard that they're awesome. It's a burger filled with cheese.
Okay, yeah. So, and then last thing I want to say is it really sucks losing when the ref's going to throw the game. I mean, we dealt with it in Dallas. We're dealing with it now. It was unbelievable. I shut off the game right when Calvin Johnson dropped the ball. I just shut the TV off. I was done. I walked away, left my phone where it was at, picked up the phone, and saw a couple tweets from some of my followers that the Lions got screwed out another win, and sure be it. I went and did some research and found out we did, and it's definitely hard when, I mean, we do as much as we can to pretty much win that game. We pretty much win the game, and the rest just throw it, and it's Detroit versus everybody now, isn't it? So
Detroit versus everybody, man. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys.
Man, Jason, it's just, you sit here and you recapped all the ways that the Lions have lost, and you now have to sit, and say, now what? The Lions are 0-4. We have a super tough matchup coming up against Arizona, albeit at home. We have a game versus Chicago. That game, everyone's counting to be a win, but Jay Cutler came back, and with the injuries, we don't even talk about the fact that Haloti Ngata injured himself. Walker, a guy that we brought in as a free agent that actually did something, fractured his fibula, had an issue with his ankle and then broke his fibula. Man, it was gruesome, and they didn't even show the replay. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wanted to see it. I wanted to see what the hell happened, but
that's because you're a sick son of a bitch.
Yeah, so 0-4. Do you think the Lions can use this as a rallying cry? I know. I thought You would think that after getting screwed in Dallas, they would come back with a chip on their shoulder, but they've just laid down like a cheap whore.
You know what I think we'll see in the coming weeks? I really think we're gonna see the defense rally. I think this was a very good test because Russell Wilson, he's no slouch, and I had an idea that they might be actually able to shut him down. They did it once before in one of his first seasons, and we won in Seattle. So it'll be interesting to see what they do against Arizona because, I mean, they were able to get to Russell Wilson. They were able to contain him. I mean, Carson Palmer when you compare Russell Wilson to Carson Palmer in mobility, I mean, Carson Palmer is essentially a statue.
Yeah, so we can get to him. We can cause some damage. And I think I heard the game has been pushed back to 4 o'clock. So it's another game where we got to wait and we got to sit around, watch a good football game, and then watch the Lions. I don't know, Jason. What do you think? I think I might be due for one day off to not watch the Lions. I feel like I might want to just take... No, I can't. I'm a Lions fan forever. I will never, ever be Lions free. And people will say, you should stop watching. You know, if you follow us on Twitter, @Detroit Podcast, my boy, @TV Chips, tweeting me nonstop. You guys are losers. Why do you support this team? You got some radio hosts saying, you know, you guys are suckers. Why do you watch this? It's time to move on. I cannot do that. I will be a Lions fan forever, and it'll just make it that much more sweeter. There's going to be one season where we actually have success. Mm-hmm. I think it's too far gone to wish this team to have significant success year after year after year, but there's going to be that one year where maybe we get to the Super Bowl and lose on a field goal miss.
Oh.
1 year, that's what's going to happen. But I won't go Lions free, but I think versus Arizona, it might be the game where I go to the Apple Orchard or go to the Haunted Hayride or something with the kids. I need a week off, I think.
I'm not going to purposely, take a week off, but if something comes up with the family and, with it being a 4 o'clock game, it might be around dinner time. So I might head out to dinner early. So we'll see. But let's turn this podcast around. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some good stuff. We're going to talk some Detroit Red Wings and some Pistons. And we'll throw in some college football talk in there a little bit later. I know Doc just kind of gave me a look about that because I know he's full mast on Michigan State.
I am. All right. Motor City Sports Rant, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Doc here for FanaticU.com, Detroit Sports official outfitter and the official outfitter of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Go visit FanaticU.com to rock great sports gear for all Detroit teams. You got the Red Wings coming up. They're starting the season on Friday. Pick up a great Dylan Larkin jersey. FanaticU.com. They recently released a 100% Detroit Joik Bell signed shirt. If you shop online at FanaticU.com, use the promo code DSP. If you missed it, promo code DSP when you check out saves you 15% off your entire order. That means you can buy anything on clearance. You can buy the latest Detroit Lions gear if you're a fan of Amir Abdullah. If you like the gear from Detroit Lions, go to FanaticU.com, use the promo code DSP, and save some money. FanaticU.com, Detroit Sports official outfitter. And now back to the Motor City Sports Rant on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Motor City Sports Rant, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. We just broke down the depressing history of the Lions, but let's move on to a team that has consistently, surprised us really, and the Detroit Red Wings. Their season opens on Friday. They're playing Toronto. Mike Babcock, he's coming, or is it here or is it in Toronto?
Home opener Friday. Mike Babcock comes back to the Joe, and we went through the whole preseason without a win, including a couple versus Toronto. So I'm hopefully looking forward to a thrashing. I'm sorry. We went through the whole preseason, including 2 wins versus Toronto, without a loss. Unbelievable. Good stuff. And I'm hoping for a thrashing when Mike Babcock comes to town on Friday. Get those 2 points.
I'm very excited. I think the main story out of training camp, Dylan Larkin made the big team. And this is something that we haven't seen
since Yzerman.
That this kid, and he is a kid born. I'm looking at the roster. He's born in '96, so that means he's 19 years old. He's a teenager still.
That was my junior year of high school. Oh, wow.
And
he's gonna be expected
at the great old East Detroit High School.
Yes, that's right. Shout out to the Shamrocks.
And he made the team. I think it's awesome. Yeah, I think he really proved. I think a lot of the young kids proved that we have talent in Grand Rapids that's on the way. Anthony Mantha finally started looking like the pick when we got him. Well, and what was that? Andreas Athanasiou,
Yeah.
Double A. When these kids come along, it's gonna be it's exciting. And with Dylan Larkin up with the big team, they're saying that he's gonna be starting on a line with Henrik Zetterberg and Justin Abdicator, line 1. He's gonna be out there, so he's gonna be put in a situation where he's going to succeed. I mean, he's a goal scorer, and I think that's essentially the same place where they had Gustav Nyquist.
Now, when I was looking at the Red Wings roster, kind of looking and peeking in at the preseason, I really enjoyed how the goaltenders played. I'm definitely hoping that Mrazek's the guy Friday night in net. Jimmy Howard is going to be a great serviceable backup, but Peter Mrazek needs to start 50 to 55 games this year. Give him a full load this year. Let him showcase the talent that he has, and he's going to be a superstar, no doubt about it. But everyone that looks at him, everyone that watches him, he passes the eye test. This is a goaltender that has it. He can make key saves. This is a guy that can really go out there and give a team a boost in confidence. That's why I love having a guy like Peter Mrazek, and that's why it's nice to have some goaltending depth. I don't think it's going to last too long. If Howard's going to be the backup, you would think they're going to move him at some point. If there's an injury or something, he's a great chip to hold. But my early concern, I know everything's nice and rosy to start, but I have a concern. De Keyser early on is a little bit injured. You had a couple guys go out with some nicks and cuts and groins and all those issues. And the key thing with a team like the Red Wings, how is the blend of the veterans, the older guys, going to gel with the youth? And you got Pavel Datsyuk, the biggest question mark, out to start the season. A little bit concerned. Zetterberg had a significant goalless streak because of his back towards the tail end of the year. He's no spring chicken. Datsyuk being 37. Zetterberg just turned 35. So how's that mix gonna play out? How's that blend of the veterans and the youth gonna play out? It's gonna be interesting to see the start of the year.
I'm gonna tell you why I'm not worried about that. And it's because we actually, for the first time in a couple of years, we went out in free agency and picked up some solid asset pieces. Mm-hmm. The top line, it's set. Henrik Zetterberg, Justin Abdicator, Dylan Larkin. I think it's going to rock and roll. And on that second line, you have Thomas Tatar and Gustav Nyquist. Both are they're the up and coming stars. And you're going to put a Stanley Cup winning center in Brad Richards on that line. I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be times where they're going to be the top line.
But just remember, it was just 2 seasons ago where we lost the most games to we lost the most man games to injury. And last year, relatively speaking, we were okay in terms of the injuries. But again, Datsyuk is having a hard time making it through an entire season. And, you're going to need guys like Zetterberg to contribute because, yes, this team, the Red Wings, are a great regular season team. They accumulate points, they play well, but when it comes time for the playoffs, when you need to peak, that's when the secondary scoring needs to happen, and who's going to step up? That's going to be the juicy thing to watch all year. Does a Franzen survive the year? I'm a little bit nervous with a guy like Franzen because he's giving it the full effort, man. He's trying his hardest to get back on the ice.
And he's one hit away. He's going to be on a third line that is usually a checking line.
One hit away from his career being over or maybe a more serious injury. And you think he should make this effort? Or if you get like your 5th and 6th concussion, I mean, there have been times when he's been on the ice walking off after a hit where he's looked like he doesn't know where he's at.
I think this is really his last chance. Like, if he goes down with another concussion, he really needs to hang it up. There shouldn't be any discussion. Try to get through this season. If you can't, it should be over. You can't put yourself out there because you're risking your life. I mean, the guy's got a family. And, when you're talking about losing man hours, I'm more okay losing man hours at the beginning of the season with Pavel Datsyuk out. I'd rather have him come back, let him go until December and then bring him back. He's fully healthy. He's a fresh pair of legs the rest of the season. I mean, what's our lineup going to look like when we get Datsyuk back? Oof. Is Datsyuk going to go? I don't think he goes to the top line. Because I think you still roll with those unless it's not working out. So Datsyuk goes to line 2. And are you moving Richards down to the third line? Does he become the third line center? Or are you moving down one of the Tatar or Nyquist? And you're just the top three lines are going to look scary. And it's something that I don't think we've had in a little while, where we've had our one line with all the injuries we've had in recent past. We've had at least one good line where we know we can score. And when it gets down to the third or fourth line, they're essentially just checking lines. They're the guys who go out there to kill the penalties. I think we're going to have legitimate options to score on every line, and people are going to have to start accounting for that.
Yeah, and you know, everyone was disappointed with some of the offseason moves the last couple years. People were starting to question, well, what's going on? Conveniently, once Mike Babcock leaves, you pick up a nice defenseman in Mike Green. He's going to be solid back there.
He's a guy that I'm very excited about. I've watched him on Washington, and I love that he's an offensive defenseman.
Yeah, and then you picked up, like you said, Stanley Cup winning Brad Richards, got experience. He had a little bit of, a groin issue, missed a game or two in the preseason. But early on, have you peeked in at Blashill? He looks like he's picked up a lot from Babcock. The team looks organized. They look like they're having fun. I like so far what I've seen with the new man behind the bench.
Now, you talked a little bit about Mrazek and Howard, and I agree. I think Mrazek, he should be number one. I really think, though, in these first couple of weeks, we're going to see more of a 50-50 split between the two, just because it's the beginning of the season. You're getting rolling, trying to see what works, what doesn't work.
Mrazek's the guy. It's it. You can watch all you want. I mean, it's the same thing. Howard's like Stafford. You can wait and wait and wait. You know what you got with Stafford. You know what you got with Howard. He's solid, but at the key times, he's going to make that key mistake behind the net, maybe with puck control, and he's going to make the key mistake. The guy hasn't gotten to the Stanley Cup quarterfinal or the Eastern Conference. He hasn't gotten to the Western or Eastern Conference final. Come on now, the Wings have high expectation, and I do think now he is a certified A+ backup. That's his role.
Right, but when you look at the other Stanley Cups that the Red Wings have, they've always had two goalies that they can rely on.
For sure.
You have Vernon and Osgood. You have Osgood and who was the other guy on the 97 or the 98 one? Was it Osgood and Legacy that year?
Potentially, yeah.
But then 2002, you get Osgood and Hasek.
Yep.
And what was it, 2008? Was it Osgood again?
Osgood, who won the Cup in 2008? Yes, I believe so.
So, I mean, we're going to have two good goaltenders. And I don't think Jimmy Howard is a bad goaltender. I think when you try to equate it to the Lions, what you have from Stafford. But I think this is an instance where we have a Matt Stafford on our team now, but then we also have that up-and-comer, like maybe a Derek Carr, where you're not sure what you got, but he looks like he's got a lot of potential. He brings more to the game than what Matt Stafford has. And it's going to be good news. I think, and I don't think it's bad to start 50-50 in the beginning of the season. Once the meat of the season starts rolling, Mrazek's going to be the guy. And you're going to see Howard on maybe those back-to-back nights where you don't want to ride Mrazek too much, because you obviously want to get him to the playoffs, because you want to get him that experience and give him that chance to win us a Stanley Cup. If
you open up to a competition, there should be no doubt that Mrazek will outshine him. And I just hope so, because he's a guy that can, effectively, stop shots. He's got a presence. He's athletic. He's a great goalie. And I think the guys will rally behind him and play. The defense will play very well in front of Peter Mrazek. And so I'm definitely hoping he emerges. And, I can almost say it for sure, when the first playoff game rolls around, Mrazek's going to be the guy that's going to be starting. Guaranteed.
Oh, I guarantee that too. And this might be too early, but how far do you think this Red Wings team can go if they're healthy?
If they're healthy, they need to at least win a round or two. You got to remember, a lot of these young players now that are on the team, a Tatar, a Nyquist, hopefully Polkinen can get into the second or third line, in the playoffs. These guys have been in the playoffs. They have now experienced. They've played some tough series against Boston and Tampa Bay last year. And remember, they were just a couple breaks here and there from taking a stronghold lead in that series versus Tampa Bay. I do believe this team, if everything goes right, should have around 102 to 105 points. They're going to be seated high. I forget this whole discombobulated, NHL playoff system, but I do believe they're going to play well, and they're going to win one or two rounds. And if they get hot, If Peter Mrazek gets hot, look out. This could be a serious Stanley Cup winning team. If the likes of Tatar, Nyquist, Pulkkinen, and Larkin can light up the lamp, you got yourself the makings of a strong Stanley Cup team. Young and hungry. That's what they'll be with a new head coach. Man, I can't wait.
Yeah, and I'd say, and it's a way too early prediction. If this team stays healthy, they're definitely going to the conference championship. Because I think they can. Last year we were even talking that they can match up with any team, and obviously injuries. And Howard was hot at a time, but then he got injured. He came back, fell off. So I think the sky's the limit with this team.
Yeah, the sky's the limit, and you do have room for growth with this team. This team is going to start off, playing very well, and there's room to even get better. And we'll get a chance to see now, how does the first-year guy, Blashill, who's won at every level, how's he going to handle the rigors of an NHL season? How's he going to match up lines? How's he going to handle the first couple-game losing streak? How's he going to handle? The biggest thing, in my opinion, the biggest thing is going to be how Blashill handles Mrazek and Howard. If a situation occurs where maybe Howard's shaky a little bit and you've got him slated, do you keep him in? Do you pull him early? Do you put in a Mrazek on a back-to-back game when Howard's in there? It's going to be interesting to see how he manages it, because right now everything's good. It's the start of the year, but once, some talk happens behind the scenes in the locker room, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of locker room Blashill controls, because Babcock it was all solid. I mean, whatever issues were brought up, Babcock squashed it, and and he had no problem bringing stuff up, and he was open and honest, and I liked the way he ran things. I was a big fan of Babcock, but it's going to be interesting to see how Blashill handles his first year. I'm looking forward to it. Friday night, Toronto. Let's whoop their ass.
I don't think I could say it better myself. But another team that I really think the sky's the limit for them as well, the Detroit Pistons.
Hey now. As we record this, they're involved in their first preseason game.
Going up against the Pacers there, and you can listen to them on Detroit Sports 105.1. I really think it's strange. It's only 2 years. Stan Van Gundy, he came in year one, and obviously they had the horrible 5-23 start, but that Josh Smith trade, or it was a release. It was the turning point. He was starting to make it his team, and I think the team it looks like a Stan Van Gundy roster. Stan Van Gundy is a guy, he likes to run and gun. He likes to have the guys on the perimeter shooting the three, and I think they're moving more towards like what the Golden State Warriors are doing, where they're going smaller and they're having more guys who can play more positions. Looking at the roster right now, just running down the starters, you got Reggie Jackson, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Marcus Morris, Ersan Ilyasova, and Andre Drummond. Those are all just the starters. And I think outside of Andre Drummond, all other four can shoot. So I think they're setting up for success, because you put Andre Drummond down in the post, put everybody else out on the perimeter, and it's going to be fun to watch. And that's not talking about Stanley Johnson, who I think he's listed as a backup to shooting forward, but I think he can go from anywhere. He could play power forward, he could play shooting guard. I think he could even do some spells at point guard. It's really going to be interesting to see.
And right now, just to start, again, like with any team, like with any roster, you got to deal with injuries. You got to deal with what's going on with the roster. So early on, Reggie Jackson had some tests done, I believe, on Monday because of Achilles soreness. So to start the preseason opener, Spencer Dinwiddie's the last man standing, because Steve Blake got a concussion. He's out. You had the injury to Brandon Jennings. So right now, Dinwiddie, I'm looking forward to see how he does in the preseason opener, because he's the last guy standing, and he was the guy that last year started off with an injury, but he came on, and he had some games where he got hot. And right now, in terms of the point guard, they're a little bit thin in terms of guys that are healthy and ready to go. Once the preseason moves along, we fully expect that Reggie Jackson is going to be that guy that's going to take over the team. And how does Spencer Dinwiddie and Brandon Jennings, how does that trio at point handle things? I mean, right now it's the Detroit point guards, where they got 4 of them on the roster, but it's quite funny. I'm looking forward to it, though. I am excited. Like I said, it's new. It's the beginning of the season. I'm excited to see how the draft pick fits into the system. And hey, Izzy, just once, like I said, there is no rule against a young rookie becoming a superstar. Why not us? Why do we have to wait for guys to, quote unquote, develop? Go out there, Stanley Johnson, handle your business. Go out there and prove that you were the guy. Go out there and prove and show us what you told us. You're the best guy in the draft this year. Go out there and show us. And the goal of this year should be definitely to make the playoffs. I said 6th seed. I do believe they got a strong chance this year because Stan Van Gundy's a good head coach. I'm still evaluating how good a general manager he is.
Yeah, I agree. And as far as general manager goes, I mean, he's really built it the way that, it's his vision. He has the shooters. He went out and got Ersan Ilyasova, who's a big man who can shoot the ball. Talking about the point guard issue, I think Jody Meeks is a guy who came in last year. He was hurt, and I think he's a guy who can give a little bit of relief at the point guard position. And he's got some of that veteran leadership, and he can play. I think it's not too far to say that he can return to his form when he was on the Lakers. Obviously, the guy you want to see step up this year is KCP. You want to see him make that next step. You want him to be the guy you can kick it out to, and you can just count on to make the shot. Because I think that's where it's been leading up to. Reggie Jackson, he's the point guard of the future. We paid him. We gave him all the money, and KCP has to be that next guy. He's got to be the guy that when Reggie Jackson, he's not driving the ball, he's the guy that he's getting it out to.
Yeah, and with the Pistons, it's going to be fascinating to see how this team kind of gels together with these young guys. In the offseason, the talk was, hey, they went out to Vegas, they all bonded together, they all did this UFC training. The guys are close. Andre Drummond is a guy I think that took Reggie Jackson in, and they become relatively close. And the guys as a unit are close. And that's something that, you can't discount and take too lightly. A team that's going to stick together. Towards the end of some of the regimes that ended in the past with the Pistons, you've seen that the team was fractured. You've seen that you had characters in there that really weren't locker room guys. And right now, I really got a sense, and at least it was portrayed that way, that these guys really are invested in each other. They want to play together. And a team like that can do some damage because, they're going to play well together. They're going to, pick each other up. And right now, the early emphasis is going to be on the defense. And the mark of a good team and a team that's together is a team that defends well. You'll know right away because sometimes, in the NBA, you can tell if you leave the guy open there to get exposed, that's how you do it. You don't really hustle on the defensive end. You're not willing to throw your body in, to the ground to get the ball and those loose balls. So I do believe that the effort's going to be there. Stan Van Gundy's going to demand it, and I just can't wait for tip-off, man. It's going to be a fun year. It sucks, when a team struggles. When you go to the Palace, there's only like 6,000 people there, or when you go to a game and the opposing fans are there. I mean, the Toronto fans came to the Palace. Jason, you believe that? They came to the Palace.
I was at that game.
You were at that game. What was it like? I mean, they were literally basically cheering louder and more ferociously than our team. What was it like? What happened? Refresh my memory. You went there. The Toronto fans basically were in one segregated area throughout the Palace, and they were boisterous, right?
I mean, I think they had to help. I feel like a company helped with that.
Oh.
But it's that's what happens when you have a team that's close. I mean, I think we've seen it. We've done it before. Our own teams, our Tiger fans, they travel well to Cleveland and Chicago, even to Minnesota at times, and you can take over a stadium very easily. I mean, the Red Wings. You find fans everywhere. It seems whenever we play in Arizona, there's way more Wings fans there. So the Pistons, they haven't done good, and it's tough. It's out in Auburn Hills. It is a drive, and when they don't have a good product, which towards the end of the season, it wasn't that great.
Yeah, but I like what's been going on with the renovations. I love the new HD screens. I love the I love the fact that they're working on putting in new seating. They're working on new eateries. The Palace is still an up-to-date place.
I'm not a huge fan of their screens.
You're not a fan of that? Why not?
The one thing I like the old cube, and that had the stats clear. Where it's not horrible, but it's the one thing I don't like is that. On the far end screens, the stats are very, very small.
That's right,
but it's very minor.
Yeah,
I do like that they dim the lights, and because if you walk in there and it almost feels like when you go into the Joe, it's a little darker. So it's going to be an exciting season, and
I'm looking forward to going out to the Palace. I mean, like I said, I like it. I was They gave me a tour trying to sell me season tickets a couple years back. Weaseled my way in to see some of the happenings going on at the Palace. I was like, okay, I'm potentially interested in season tickets. So I made my way and got a tour of the nice areas that all the hoity-toities go to, and it was very nice, very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it was very cool. So yeah, it's going to be a fun season. What's your realistic expectation?
Oh, I see them making the playoffs on the bottom end, obviously, but realistically, I think probably five or the 4 seed would be the highest they could go, because it's Cleveland. It's their conference to lose.
Yeah, again, the East is weaker than the West, so you should have a realistic opportunity. Should you get to the high 30s, low 40s to at least get to the 8th seed? I mean, realistically, 45 to 50 wins should be a realistic goal for this team. And they should be able to at least compete in the first round, maybe, just maybe, getting to that 6 or 7 spot and causing some damage. You should expect that. You should expect, this team to do well and not settle. Like I said, Stan Van Gundy has to be, frustrated, pissed that he missed the playoffs for the first time ever. So I think he'll recover from that and lead this team to a nice season.
Yeah, I see. If they can sneak into a slightly higher spot in the playoffs, they might surprise somebody, maybe win a playoff series. It might be a little early for that, but we're gonna take another break. We come back, we're gonna talk a little bit of MSU U of M, and then we got a new segment. It's gonna be between me and the Doc, and it's the Motor City Shootout.
Motor City Sports Rant, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Thanks to everybody that's been downloading the podcast on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. We recently revealed that the newest podcast on the network, the Doc's Weekly Countdown, where myself will count down the week's top 5 stories and give opinions and recap the week that was for Detroit sports. And you can find that podcast every Sunday on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Thank you for your continued support. That's how we can keep rolling out these new shows, and keep supporting us by visiting our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. We are adding new shows all the time, and we're looking to continue to provide the best podcast network that's out there. We got the Motor City Sports Rant, Tigers Talk with Churko and Company, Doc and Jock, the Fantasy Nerds, Doc's Countdown Show. We're always looking to add new podcasts. We're looking to, have a podcast come out every single day of the week, and we can only do that with your support. Visit DetroitSportsPodcast.com, the free and easy way to help us keep this network going. Keep the mics on, keep Jason and myself, Vito, Adam, having fun doing these podcasts with no restrictions. Having a good time. Thank you very much for all the support. DetroitSportsPodcast.com. And now back to the Motor City Sports Rant.
Motor City Sports Rant, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. It's getting a little late in the show, but I want to talk a little bit of MSU U of M. It's obviously we're both huge Sparty fans.
Hey, 5-0, baby.
5-0.
Number 4 doesn't matter. It's a meaningless thing. It's tough to win a game and then lose and then drop in the rankings, but we don't make excuses. We definitely have to play better. But all hell yeah, Michigan State's 5-0. Just have to get one more victory this week, and then I think we're playing a terrible Rutgers team, and we can do it without Conklin. We can do without the guys that have been injured. But 2 weeks away, Jason, we're going to go there to Ann Arbor and just thrash the hell out of Michigan. And it's going to be a close game. I mean, I'm being facetious in terms of thrashing, but I do believe that we have talent at the key positions. Connor Cook is better than Rudock. Our running backs are better than Michigan's. So if everything plays to form and we play well, we should have no problem walking away with the victory. I'm tired of the narrative that, Michigan State, they need to blow teams out and they need to do this and that. They've had injuries. And not to make excuses, but when you lose your best offensive lineman, you lose your best defender. You've lost now 3 starters on your defense. Every game that rolls out, you're getting guys that are being gone for long periods of time. So it just goes to show you the depth. But I'm concerned about the overall goal of getting to the playoff with these injuries. But versus Michigan, come on now. Until Michigan shows it on the field, when they show it versus a good team with a good quarterback, then come back and talk to me. Michigan's played first-year quarterbacks mostly at home. They deserve credit for the shutouts, for sure, but please, come back to me when they play a real team.
Now, I agree with you on Michigan State. Just win. And that's D'Antonio has always said that. Just win, baby.
Just win.
And I fully believe if you win, just win all your games at the end of the season, you're going to be in the college football playoff.
If they just win out.
It's easy as that. I mean, and obviously the big test is going to be Ohio State. Looking ahead to Michigan, and I don't want to look at past Rutgers. We should win, but but it's a night game. You never know. But let's just say that we get past Rutgers. We're looking at Michigan. They've allowed 14 points in the past 4 games.
They played very well on defense. All credit. Michigan's back. And the good thing is, Michigan State should not be intimidated by the rise of Michigan. You want Michigan to dominate every single game until they play State. You want Michigan to be ranked. I want them to be ranked number 10 when we beat them.
Yeah, and if we do go in and we beat Michigan, it'll help
something.
us.
Yeah, it means something.
Because they beat Utah, we beat Oregon, Utah demolished Oregon. And if we beat them, it helps us a lot.
Do you see Rudock getting better? I mean, this is a guy that doesn't look like a starting quarterback for Michigan.
No, Jake Rudock, we've seen what he is, and we're not going to see anything great. He might have like one good game where it's surprising, and it's going to be against a bad team. But what if Michigan goes, they get to play Northwestern at home, which is going to be their biggest test of the season until the week after.
Great defenses.
If they come away from this game, let's say they lose, but they only lose by like a field goal. Does this worry you at all?
If
like
Michigan loses?
Yeah, let's say it's like 24-21.
What would be the concern if they lost? That'd be great. I mean,
does that worry you at all though, as a Sparty fan?
I mean, yeah, I know what you're saying.
We're going to be going into the big house.
Yes, and
they're going to be fired up.
Yes, logistically and honestly, you are worried whenever you go to the big house, 100,000 strong, and Michigan State's not going in full throttle. We still have question marks at the secondary. I mean, Purdue is still running. I mean, you got out to the 21-0 lead, and then Purdue started, breaking down the state secondary, and that's the biggest concern when you have injuries and you have turnover there as Pat Narduzzi left. That's the biggest question mark. And with State, when you look at it, they haven't gotten better at that area. They still struggle. But right now, what's happening, and it's tougher for us to see because we weren't used to it, is Michigan State's now kind of leaning on that offense to kind of carry the defense right now. So Michigan's going to have to score to beat Michigan State. And Michigan State is going to look to. And remember, this is Michigan State. And no matter how many passing yards Cook has or Rudock has, the victor of this game is going to be determined by who has the most rushing yards. And it's going to be Michigan State. Madre London, LJ Scott are going to run roughshod. At least they're going to try to. And I do believe that, they may struggle early on because of the momentum and things like that. But if Michigan State gets out to a 14 and 21 point lead, they're going to pound the ball. And then the only thing you got to do is let Cook throw it a little bit. Only 5 passes in the second half, a little bit conservative versus Purdue at the homecoming game. But Michigan State, I really believe it. I don't think they're showing their cards. I do believe that D'Antonio and the coaching staff is holding a little bit back for the marquee games. And if they play well, if they both play their absolute best, if you're a realistic and honest person watching the game, you'll lean toward Michigan State. But if Michigan State does not play their best, look out. Yeah, Michigan can do some damage. Michigan State has to show up. In the past, like last couple of years, we could have rolled up in there and brought our B- game and win. If they don't bring their B+, A- game, forget it. We're not going to win.
Yeah, I really feel Conklin comes back for the Michigan game, and we're going to be right as rain. But we're going to move on to the last segment. It's called the Motor City Shootout. Me and Doc, we're going to fire 3 sports questions at each other, and we're going to answer it honestly.
Very good. You go ahead.
So my first question to you, with how Stafford has looked this year, and I've come to the realization that he's a bad to average quarterback. Average quarterback is his ceiling. Yeah, he has talent, but he doesn't have the skills. Will the Lions look to draft or sign a QB in the offseason this year, realistically, with the same regime?
No. I think what they've done so far is they've surrounded Stafford with as much talent as possible. I do believe that they're fully confident in Orlovsky, and if Caldwell's the coach, I don't believe that they're going to give up on Stafford. If the Lions are taking the patient approach like they've been known to do, Stafford will be the guy, and they won't bring in a guy. They've basically tailored the organization around Stafford, and they're going to make excuses now. They have built an excuse. Oh, we had the line. Oh, Lombardi was an issue, and it's not Stafford. The organization yet has not been willing to pull Stafford, has not been willing to, bring in a guy. Who are they going to bring in? I mean, they got Orlovsky. You've gone to two quarterbacks. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But no, in my honest opinion, they will not bring in a guy.
Well, that is it's rough to hear.
It is. All right, my first question. The Tigers ended their season disappointing. One of those years where you thought they were going to do some damage this year, and they ended up awful. Where do you think they spend the bulk of their money in the free agency this year? In the starting rotation or in the bullpen?
I think you have to go bullpen. Looking at what Kansas City has done, we can't do what they've done because they were horrible for so long, and they were able to get so many high draft picks that they've been able to build a bullpen through draft. I think we need to go out and get at least a couple bullpen arms to come in and stabilize this group, because unless Shane Green's going to come up and be that long reliever guy, or we're going to see something else from one of the no names that we have in our farm system, we need to do the bullpen. I think our starting rotation, JV, he's apparently looks like he's JV again, and hopefully Sanchez comes back. We can get a full year out of him. And, who knows? Daniel Norris, Kyle Ryan, who knows about this Michael Fulmer kid? I think the starting rotation, we've drafted for the starting rotation. We need to build our bullpen.
All right. So my second question on the Motor City Shootout, what do you expect out of Dylan Larkin this year? He's playing on the top line with Henrik Zetterberg and Justin Abdelkader. What point totals are you looking for? Goals, assists? Or, could he be more of a goal guy than an assist guy? What do you see? Yeah, I actually did, prior back, maybe about a couple months back, I did a look at some young players and what they did their early couple seasons in the league. It's not easy to be pro. It's not easy to be like Sidney Crosby. Those don't happen. Guys like Sidney Crosby don't come along too often. But realistically, what's been done in the past by guys similar to Dylan Larkin is like 45 to 55 points. You're looking at, 15 to 20 goals, 30 assists. I look for him to contribute more, but he's a guy that can put the puck in the net. So realistically, if he has a 50-point season, I'll be very happy. If he learns the game, if he can get through the season healthy, if he can be a contributor, not go through long goalless streaks, just be a guy that contributes here and there. And the big thing for me, I really like the plus-minus stat. If he can be, I know sometimes it's not sometimes dependent on you. You can just be getting on a tough change and get a minus for a goal being scored. But if you can be a +5, +6 player throughout the whole year and not be a significant minus player, because it can get glaring pretty fast if you're a -6, -7 player. If he's a plus player with 45 to 55 points and contributes, Doc's good.
Well, I think 35 to 50 goals or 35 to 50 points, you're looking at Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might. It's going to be flip-flopped. I think he's going to be more of the goal scorer on that line.
Okay. Now, the first NFL head coach to get whacked. Joe Philbin didn't make it out of London. And Ndamukong Suh, all the big signings in Miami. You got fans spending money on planes, requesting the the management to be fired. Everyone's up in arms. And Ndamukong Suh has looked terrible. Terrible signing. You feel bad for Ndamukong Suh?
I don't feel terrible at all for Ndamukong Suh. He's making a lot of money. And, yeah, he may wish that he's back in Detroit. And, I might want him back, but I'm also glad that we didn't have to spend the money on him. I'm glad that we don't have to make the excuses that Dolphin fans are making excuses now. Is it 2 or 3 games now where he's had an altercation where it's an Ndamukong Suh thing? He kicked Ryan Fitzpatrick in the head this week. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad he's gone. I don't feel bad for him at all. I'll gladly change roles with him if it means I get $100 million. My last question in the Motor City Shootout, we just talked about it. Michigan State. You think Michigan State's going to go into the big house and that they're just going to thrash them? I want you to tell me why U of M will beat Michigan State.
Oh, one name, head coach Jim Harbaugh. The man has some kind of mystique that's, drawing all the media, drawing all the attention. ESPN rolled out a new syndicated radio show, SVP and Russillo, 1 to 4 on ESPN News. And they on the set, very standard radio set. What do I see? Freaking maize and blue helmet right there on the set. all the love is being shown nationally to Michigan, but you got to give Jim Harbaugh credit. Michigan looks the same players, relatively speaking. The class that was brought in was thin because he came in later at the time in late January. He's coached these guys to play well, and you got a great defensive coordinator doing some things. Back-to-back shutouts, you can't poo-poo. So coaching, number one, can he motivate these guys to go through the wall and battle because they're going to have a size disadvantage versus Michigan State. But motivation, effort, passion, all the things that Doc loves,
drinking milk,
all things that Jim Harbaugh brings to the table. And if he has that magic and he can work it and outcoach D'Antonio, I don't know if he can do that, but hey, that would be the reason. If he outcoached and outmaneuvered and maybe brought out some things that we haven't seen with Rudock or Darbo and Butt and Davion Smith, we'll see what happens.
He likes Butt.
Yeah. All right. Let me get you my last question here. All right. It has to be related to the Lions. Does this offense put up a game with 25 points or more this season? Is this offense capable of improving, getting better under Lombardi? Any kind of wrinkles at all? Anybody emerge? Does this team hit 25 points any game the rest of the way?
There's 12 games left.
Mm-hmm.
It would be an anomaly if they didn't get over 25 points. Mm-hmm. If they don't get over 25 points, then something has clearly gone wrong.
But the first 4 games, they're trending downward. They're trending toward a shutout. It was 12 versus Denver, 3 offensive points versus 3 offensive points versus Seattle. It's trending downward, and it doesn't look like things are getting better.
It's just not the way that the things work in the NFL.
I know.
They're going to score over 25. I'd even go out on a limb and say that 6 of the 12 games, they're probably going to score over 25.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing a bottoming out because if you can't run the ball, you can't effectively pass. Basically, the Lions have a screened passing offense. That's what they got. It's gonna. If they get a couple of defensive points here and there, I don't know. You may definitely get 1 or 2, but it may be hard to come by.
I don't know. If we have another game like this Monday game where our offense is just doing absolutely nothing, Caldwell's going to do something. He's going to step in, and they're going to right the ship. We have too many weapons. Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, Lance Moore is a product. I saw one play where it gave me a little bit of hope that they're actually starting to think a little bit more on offense. And it was the play where they ran Abdullah out to the flat and the Seahawks knew that it was a screen pass, and they had Lance Moore running a route about 15 yards deeper. Mm-hmm. And everyone in their mother knew that it was going to Abdullah. He threw it to Lance Moore, and they picked up a first down. So I think that gives me hope that they're gonna turn it around. I'm gonna try and find some stats that will help back me up.
Jason found the one play that was effective. Yeah, the defense really did help the Lions. It's unbelievable, but
looking back to last year, oh boy, this isn't helping me at all. Last year they had 1. Oh boy.
They didn't have that many games over 25?
3 games over 25.
The whole year?
Yep.
See, I think we got see, the defense did a lot for this team because we talked about it. The offense was struggling, and we kind of said that, this offense...
Our offense was inept last year.
Yeah, it was inept last year. So, okay, that's a good question. There you go.
That is very interesting.
Very interesting.
I might
Are you going to revise it?
I might dim that down to 3 games over the next 12.
Okay. There you go. You heard it. The Doc got Jason the King to squirm. All right, before we get out of here, quick fantasy update. Are you 0-4 in the big time league you're in?
Yes.
0-4. How you liking the Doc calling up your show? I've been asking some good questions.
I told you. You asked me what it was like.
Yeah.
And I told you sound exactly like a Jim Rome caller.
Yeah, now they have you here. What does that mean?
Jim Rome caller sounds like they've written out everything that they want to say.
Yeah.
And then they say it.
They say their spiel.
And I think the reason it sounds like that is because you're a podcast guy, and it sounds like you're You're not coming on air as just like a caller who's calling up. Yeah, I have a question about Derek Carr and Phillip Rivers.
I have something to say, and I'm just coming out to say it. Okay, got it. So I'm a little bit better than the average caller. I have something to say. I make a point, and I brought up a good debatable topic. Not realistic topic, but I do believe potentially that Blake Bortles could be in the top 15. Got me 20 points, and, fantasy basically screwed me this week. Fantasy screwed me. Marshawn Lynch announcements like at 3:30 that he's not playing, so I had to scramble and picked up Darren McFadden, who got me 4. I had to pick him up late. That announcement screwed me. So the team that I got is 2-2. I played my wife back-to-back weeks. So those that heard me, I won the second game. She won the first. So I'm 4-0 with the team that Kenny drafted. 4-0. Good job, Kenny.
What are you with the team that I drafted you?
2-2.
Okay.
Pretty good. And
I wasn't a huge fan of your team anyways.
So it's all good.
I am 3-1 though in the Beat the Boss League.
Very good.
Ranked first.
Who'd you beat last week?
I beat Joey.
Very good.
He's the guy who I actually traded Jamal Charles to.
Very good. And who's upcoming?
I got Matt Derry coming up.
Oh, good times. Good
It's gonna
talks.
be interesting. Let's see what the matchup looks like right now. Right now, I am favored by 9 points.
Okay, keep it going,
He's
brother.
starting your Blake Bortles.
Yeah, see? I told you, don't sleep on that. I mean, Dennis gave me the...
Oh, that's going to change, though. I think
Dennis gave me the no. Like, it was a terrible question. It was good.
We
know what it is?
a very good... we didn't have a very good week for advice.
Yeah. Now, the reason why I said that is not because Blake Bortles is a talented quarterback. I'm looking at it like the opposite. Jacksonville's going to get their ass handed to them so many times that he's going to get a lot of garbage yards. So he's going to probably get 200 yards and a couple touchdowns every game just because they're going to be out of so many games. He's going to pass the ball a lot.
Yeah, and he doesn't have bad wide receivers. Allen Hurns and Allen Robinson, both solid options.
Oh, so I'm gonna keep on tweeting and see if he ends up finishing in the top 15. He's number 12. He's ahead of Andrew Luck as we speak with more points. So he's on my team. Picked him up quick. So we shall see.
So that'll do it for this episode.
You can't roll in here and talk to the doc and not get out of here without talking for 80 minutes.
I know. It was almost like I was talking with the jock.
There you go, brother. All right. You did a good job. Looking forward to hopefully maybe many more sitting in and having a good old time, man. Let's see. Maybe we'll get a win versus Arizona. Let's see what happens.
I hope.
All right. Let's get out of here. All right. Thank you for downloading another episode. Motor City Sports Rant, episode 33, DetroitSportspodcast.com.
Later.